Recording in progress.
Hello. Okay, apologies, everybody. It's 7:37, I believe. Megan, would you please read the statement of the presiding officer?
Yes. One second. In compliance with the Open Public Meetings Act of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting was electronically sent to the Echo Sentinel and posted on the Township website. The agenda and public handouts for this meeting can be viewed online at www.longhillnj.gov. Public comment period will be held in the orders listed on the meeting agenda.
Thank you, Megan. And for the record, this is the November 10th Township Committee meeting of Long Hill Township, which commenced at 7:37. Would everybody please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Megan, would you please take roll?
Committeeman Dorsey?
Here.
Committeeman Lavender?
Here.
Committeeman Verleza?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Present.
Mayor Paserchia?
Present. So we are on item number 4, and we are honored to have an Eagle Scout presentation by Mr. Harrison Quinn, and I believe his family is with him as well. Mr. Quinn, would you mind coming to the mic? Don't be nervous. You can't tell if you are behind your mask.
Yeah.
As you're speaking, you're allowed to take your mask down, which you have. And floor is yours.
All right, hello, my name is Harrison Quinn. I'm the current senior patrol leader and a life scout within Scouts BSA Troop 56 here in Millington, New Jersey. And as a troop, we hold retirement ceremonies for American flags which are no longer fit to be flown, including one tomorrow in our Veterans Day. It will be held at the Sterling Elks at 6 p.m. You guys are all invited to come. And we know that here in town there's only one place where these flags can be deposited in order to be retired, and that is at the Department of Public Works. And that box is fairly small and can easily fill up. However, I also know that not a lot of citizens even know that that box exists. So a lot of these flags end up going into the garbage, which is something that I would like to prevent. So my plan for my Eagle project is to create more of these boxes. I'll create more of these boxes, have scouts regularly service them, and I will include an information sheet with them to show members of the town how their flags will be retired, and that will be located on the boxes. I plan to place one of these boxes here at Town Hall, either on the plaza or within the main antechamber of the library, and the 2 others will be going at the 2 fire departments within town. I'm going to independently go to each of those fire departments in order to get permission from them, and I'm here to receive permission to place one of my boxes here on town premises.
That sounds wonderful. Any comments or questions from?
Yeah. Harrison, can you explain to the public exactly how a tattered and old American flag is retired?
In order to retire these flags that can no longer be flown, we will cut them up into each of their stripes, and we will burn them in a blaze of glory, in a roaring fire.
And I think you do a ceremony with that as well, right?
That is correct.
Thank you, Scott. Vic, Matt, Brendan?
Harrison, I know for a fact the one at the DPW was full because I put a flag in it 2 weeks ago. So there is a use for it, and you're right. I think that a lot of the people in the town don't know what to do with the flag, so I think it's a great idea and it's going to be a good project.
And it's, echo that comment as well, and what I'll do is in Millington at least, I'll talk to the executive committee, so that might save you a trip. And we'll talk about getting the permission, the requisite permission for the box to be in the Millington Firehouse.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and one more question. Would I be required to go through the, I believe is the zoning committee for placement and upkeep of these boxes?
No, not at all, Jack, or?
No, it's really not a structure, it's like a mailbox.
Yeah.
So
Alright.
I don't think any zoning permits are required.
Thank you.
Thank you, Harrison. And one thing I would say, I had the privilege and honor last night meeting with Troop 56. Scott is a troop leader. I don't know if I've given your title correctly. And I was invited by former Mayor Bruce Marengolo to come speak. And and how does it work? I think they have a certain part of their experience is to understand the local government process.
Yeah, there's 3 citizenship merit badges that are required for scouts to make Eagle. Citizenship in the community, the nation, and the world. And Mr. Maringolo volunteers his time by traveling down from Morristown to Millington to run these classes on behalf of the boys. So he does that out of the goodness of his heart right now. We really appreciate it.
And I must say, so I go there last night, and I expected just a, meet the mayor, and a kind of a soft meeting, but it was very impressive. The questions that were asked, how informed they were. They did their homework. There were 2 in particular, Ben and Kanan. I don't know if you know them.
You know, Ben.
They spoke about the previous 2 or 3 meetings, and they came with questions. And they were informed. The questions were respectful, but direct. And I must say, Scott, you and all the leaders of Troop 56 are doing a phenomenal job. And to your point, Bruce Marengolo now lives in Morristown, but he still comes and he guides these young men. So,
Harrison,
done.
can you tell the public again about the ceremony tomorrow at the Elks Club?
Yes, tomorrow at the Sterling Elks Lodge at 6 p.m. we will be hosting a flag retirement ceremony in honor of Veterans Day.
what time is that again?
6 p.m.
Thank you. All uninvited, all members of the public accepted.
And when you're there, you can see the flag field that was set up to honor the veterans. They have 25 flags that they put out in the field behind the Elks. It's impressive.
Oh, Harrison, one more question. Mr. Gallo wanted me to ask you. Are your boxes, they waterproof or?
Yes, the way I'm going to make these is it will be a timber and plywood outer shell, which will be stained and painted, and within that we will house a plastic can, which we can easily empty.
Okay. Is it like you lift up the lid like the one at the DPW, or is it like a mailbox, you just a slot?
I was going to do a lid, like DPW.
And believe it or not, there are a lot of flags to retire. You'd be amazed at how quickly these things
Stuff
add
down
up.
there. Ask Al saying, yeah, his is overflowing, I think, at least it was 2
And
weeks ago.
the troop received one of those big 50-foot flags, like the kind that you see down in Warren. Thing took forever to retire.
And it's also, it's wonderful that obviously the residents take it quite seriously, and they don't just discard it inappropriately. That
Right.
They are following the rules, and now they'll have a little bit simpler process once you complete your Eagle Scout project. So thank you, Harrison. You take care now.
Good job.
Great job.
Item number 5, ordinance 483-21. This is second reading for adoption, so I'm going to read what it is. Bond ordinance providing for the remediation of the police headquarters in and by the Township of Long Hill in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $461,000 therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $438,000 bonds or notes of the Township for financing such appropriation. And I must say, one of the questions that was asked last night by the Boy Scouts was specific to this, and they came informed, and it was not something I had thought I would hear
Mayor,
at the Boy Scout meeting.
Mayor, I would ask for a motion to continue the public hearing until the December
8th meeting.
8 meeting, because notice has to be published. It will still be adopted in time before the end of the year, so, it will accomplish what it was meant to
So are we
accomplish.
carrying this tonight?
Well, we're going to continue the public hearing with no further notice of publication until the December 8 Township
No, there
Committee
will be
meeting.
publication of the introduction. The issue
Oh,
was
right,
that
there
it
will
was
be
posted in the
publication.
Courier News
Yeah,
with a bond ordinance that needs to be
in the echoes.
in the Echoes.
Okay.
So,
But the committee will discuss it tonight, and we will have public comment, or no?
You can, but there will be a public hearing on
at the
December
following
8th.
meeting
All
as
right,
well.
then there's probably no point.
Exactly.
So
So
if I-
moved.
all right, so,
So if
So
we
moved.
continue.
Yep.
looking for a second?
Second.
Megan?
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Ordinance 484-21, this is first reading, regulating fences and other obstructions in the right-of-way and supplementing and amending Chapter 20 of the Township Code entitled Streets and Sidewalks. This was prompted by a specific incident. Jack, could you maybe give a context?
Yes, after all our discussion, I discovered that we had in fact already adopted an ordinance prohibiting obstructions in the right-of-way, or not prohibiting them, allowing them, but requiring that they be removed if the chief found that they were a safety hazard. So what I did in this ordinance was I added the provision we discussed at the last meeting to prohibit fences and other big obstructions within 4 feet of the edge of the pavement, so that it didn't cause problems for the road department when they plow.
Thank you, Jack. Comments, questions from the Township Committee? Hearing none. This is first reading, so we won't have a public comment session. And this is going to be on the December 8th meeting. Second reading and public comment at that time. So looking for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchia?
Yes. Item number 6, consent agenda resolutions. I'd like to point out that Recreation Director Lisa Scanlon added a few more basketball staff members to Resolution 21-290. The approved resolution will include all the staff as outlined by Rec Director Lisa Scanlon. And we will also be adding Resolution 21-300, appointing probationary laborer. And we have the more details which we would relate it. Jack?
I can do it now, so you can
Okay,
leave it in the
fair
consent
enough.
agenda. It's to hire Gino Florio as a probationary truck driver / laborer, class 4, in the Department of Public Works. His hourly wage will be $18.75 for an annual salary of $39,000. It will be subject to a background check, and his terms and conditions of employment will be set forth in the DPW contract, as well as the Township Personnel Policies and Procedures Manual. And it's effective November 28th. 29th.
Thank you, Jack. So any resolution or resolutions that the committee would like to discuss or would like to abstain?
I'll be abstaining from 21-284 and 21-285.
All right, so,
Abstaining from 21-286, and just ask you if you want to address 21-295, because that's something that's we're working towards for a long time.
all right, so let's pull 21-295 after we approve the others, and we can approve that one separately.
That's fine.
Okay. All right, so then what I'm looking for is a motion to approve 21-282 through 21-297, pulling 21-295 and 21-300. We're not pulling that, we're adding it. And Brendan will abstain from 21-284, 285. Matt will abstain from 21-286.
And I will abstain from 21-290.
Yeah, look at that.
290,
The official score.
290. Yeah, well, I know how you guys are.
It was unbelievable.
And Scott while Brendan and Matt were talking,
Still didn't manage to tune us out.
Scott is going to abstain from 21-290. Is that what you said?
Correct.
All right. So I'm looking for that motion.
After that, I have to move it.
And I'll second it.
Stating that motion the way you did. So moved.
Looking for a second.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Pasurcia?
Yes. All right, so now we're going to discuss 21-295. Actually, Nancy, can I turn this over to you? You've put an
Yes.
awful lot of work over the last, how many months into this, so I think you're best placed to explain it.
Yeah, actually, I had it in my administrator's report, but we could talk about it now. So after many months, like you said, we found a bus driver. He called us. So he drives for other towns. He drives for schools, and he's experienced. We are awaiting the results of a background check. Unfortunately, they take like 10 days, so we won't get it probably until next week. But I don't expect it to be anything other than satisfactory. I talked to his current employers who he drives for intermittently as like a backup, and everybody had wonderful things to say about him. So, you know, I anticipate this will work out fine. We have notified the senior center that we're going to be starting up. They're suggesting the beginning of December to start. I mean, I feel like we could probably start in the last week of November. By the time we get his results, won't be until next week, and then Thanksgiving week, so probably the last week of November, I'm thinking. As of right now, because we limited the number of hours, we estimated that they would be able to run the bus for the nutrition days, which are down to once a week at the senior center, 2 senior meetings a month, a weekly trip to ShopRite, and once a month a trip to Blue Star, and once a month a trip to Watchung Square Mall. We are setting up an extension for residents to call, where they can call 2 days in advance and say that they would like to be picked up to be taken to one of the pre-scheduled trips. We're hoping to eventually expand this to a community bus, to all members of the community, to be able to go to places within the township or a reasonable area. I mean, that clearly that would involve increasing the amount of money that we allocate for this. Unfortunately, because of the extreme shortage of bus drivers, people with CDLs, with passenger endorsements, we had to hire him at a significantly higher salary than we had previously paid in other years. So it inhibits how many hours based on what you had approved. So it's basically 15 hours a week, and we feel that we can fit in those trips that I just mentioned within that 15 hours. And at some point in the future, should you decide to expand it, we can expand it.
And so can I ask a question, well, for the committee really, and Nancy, and first off, thank you. I know you put a lot of work into this. There was a reason why it stopped running, and we don't have to go down that memory lane again. Started with COVID, and it was not safe, et cetera, et cetera. And then the challenge was, of course, CDL licenses, as people are seeing, not just in Long Hill Township, but throughout the state, throughout the country. So thank you for the work you put on into that. As far as the services that would be provided, I think what we can learn is there a demand? And if there is, we can revisit this at the 2022 budget process. So when we're talking about this, we can, in our minds at least, add hours if the hours are necessary. There's no point in adding hours if we don't see the demand.
The bus driver's going to keep a log of how many people he takes on each trip, mileage, all those things, all the things he has to do for the other places that he drives. So we'll be able to give you a report every month on how many people are riding it.
And I think our community services program manager is doing some oversight on this as well, right?
Yeah, we haven't really started that yet. We're gonna phase into that, see where all of that, where
Lands.
everything fits in. It's like a fresh new beginning with, so we're gonna, phase that in.
Yeah,
Over
but having those
coming
eyeballs on it means that we're going to get a little bit closer to the pin in terms of allocating hours to need.
And I think the desire, hopefully I speak for, hopefully, I know I speak for the entire committee. We hope the demand is there. We want this service to thrive and find the residents in town who want this service.
It's a good time for this to happen too, because people want to get out and do a little bit of holiday shopping and.
Yeah, and regarding the community services manager, it's primarily, we have the access to seniors that are in the senior center. So her role here is reaching out to other
Beyond
people
them.
who, not necessarily even seniors. There are other people who aren't seniors who need transportation. And she's actually identified a couple of them. So
That's outstanding.
if we can, get those in now, then we'll try and fit them into the hours that we have. We have to put parameters on it, like within town only or within so many miles, things like that, which was most towns do. But I foresee that role for her to be able to identify other people and make it clear that this is going to be like a community bus, not just seniors.
Oh, that's good.
Comments, questions? Looking for a motion to approve 21-295.
So moved.
Second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Pasurcia?
Yes. Liaison reports, item number 7. Matt, let's start with you.
All right, are you gonna talk about
Mayor-
NOV?
Well, I thought
Mayor.
we were moving, so because Mark is here,
Oh, yeah.
we were
I
going to move.
apologize, it's right.
I asked Mark to come in case you
You're
had
100% right.
any questions.
That's what happens when I have two different agendas. And that's my fault, not Megan's. So item number 9, we're gonna do item number 9. We have our engineer here this evening. The topic is Crosshill Road, cross paving update. This matter is resolved, so, do we really need to discuss? What did you have in mind?
Well, we would need to, I guess, withdraw this. There had been an outstanding unemployment payment for this contractor, and he was not able to get his public works registration certificate until that unemployment was paid. I guess when Jack notified his attorney that we were discussing this again because of that, because he can't start the job without it, he did pay unemployment. So we have no doubt that the Department of Labor will now issue him not that we have no doubt, but we have little doubt that they will issue his certificate now, which would be the only thing standing his way to do the job. He did provide us with a schedule. It's a pretty ambitious schedule, and based on the schedule, he says that he will be completed with the entire project by December 18th. I'm not getting my hopes up about that. Mark could probably talk more about that, but unless Mark has something to add, we would just withdraw this from the agenda.
Mark, I apologize, Mark. No,
No, that's okay.
the floor is yours.
That's okay. Thank you, Mayor and Committee. Everything Nancy said, I agree with, and we've been sort of following this closely with the Department of Labor in terms of trying to see where the payment issues are. But we've got confirmation that the payment has been processed, so that we believe that all the impediments to awarding the contract with Crossroads is acceptable. I agree, this schedule is very aggressive. Weather starts to become a real factor here when you start getting into this time of year. But I can confirm that the additional drainage boxes, most, if not all, have been delivered. They've been coming in over the last couple of days, so more materials are showing up on the job site. I'm coordinating with his office in terms of getting our surveyors out to do the layout, which is necessary for the survey controls. That's a necessary component for the construction. So we're down to coordinating things in terms of an actual start date. So we're hoping that things can get started out there in the next 5 to 10 days, week to 10 days. And then we'll get as much done as we can before the weather turns foul on us.
So Mark, let me ask you, at the last meeting, we had discussed the possibility that they can do, I mean, this project is drainage, and that's really what
Right.
prompted all of this. So I think, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, they can do a lot of the drainage, they can do that underlay or whatever it's called, I'm not.
Base course, base course, yeah.
Base course. Do we have the ability, if it gets later, where the weather is such that we think if they would have put the actual paving top part, the smooth part, and we think if they do it, it would only just deteriorate, do we have any ability to say, hold off through the winter at our discretion?
Yes, we absolutely have that discretion. So anytime you get any kind of paving after, I'll call it really the end of October, once you get into November, you start looking at your projects, you really start taking a close look at the weather conditions, you really start looking at when the asphalt plants start to shut down, right? The asphalt plants historically used to shut down sort of mid-November religiously, and now they've kind of extended things where they feel work continues. So you almost always can find an asphalt plant that will stay open through the winter, but we have the ability to recommend that the balance of the project, if we think the paving quality is going to suffer, we absolutely have the ability to defer that work till the spring. So I don't foresee frost being a problem with excavating for the drainage pipes between now and, say, the end of the year. You really don't typically get that deep freeze until well into January, February. So I think we can take advantage of that, get as much drainage pipe in as we can now, backfill the trenches, fill the trenches with base pavement, and then if we feel that we're too far into the winter, we can defer paving till the spring.
And that base pavement is drivable, it's like that little gravelly.
Yeah, no, it's actually really no different than the asphalt that you drive on now. The difference is the aggregate size, so it's a little bit more coarse. So if you drove over it, you probably wouldn't really notice the difference. You might get a little more tire noise, but only because it's a bigger aggregate in the pavement. But if it's done right, it'll be flush with the pavement, and you really won't notice much of a rideability or difference, and there's no safety difference. So it'll certainly suffice. The example I can give you is many times when you have residential subdivisions and they're built in phases, sometimes that base course is used as the surface course for years. You'll see manholes sticking out of the ground a couple of inches because they wait to pave it the final course until the very end. So it's certainly suitable for driving conditions.
And I'm not laughing at what you said, but it triggered a memory of Karen Dietrich Drive. Unfortunately, Karen Dietrich Drive, it wasn't done from, the winter to the spring. It was done from the winter to the spring.
Right.
8 years later, or I don't even know how many years later.
To several springs?
Yeah, more than several, actually.
Yeah.
So any questions for Mark? He's here.
Yeah, so that's 38 days. Are they going to be working on the weekends, do you think?
I doubt it. I think they'll be working mainly on the weekdays. I think this schedule's very aggressive. We haven't
That's
really questioned that.
28 work days, really.
Yeah, and this is sort of one of the documents we're expected to receive sort of right out of the gate. Once we have the pre-construction meeting and award the contract, we typically get this right away. We start looking at schedules and the realistic, how realistic the schedule is. I think he's just providing a very aggressive schedule at this point now. I think the key point at this time is let's get started, let's get the foreman out there and see where things stand, and then we'll basically take it on a week-by-week basis.
And what disruption will it be to the residents on the street in terms of coming and going?
The disruption, that's another thing to get him started. He's got to get the notices out to the residents as well, too. The disruption will be, for the drainage work, you will have isolated disruption while the pipe construction is being done. Again, it's going to be sort of a day-to-day basis as we go, but we're expecting the contractor to work between the driveways and sort of straddle the work. The pipe is going down essentially the center of the road. So he has the ability to work from one side of the road. So he's essentially going to be flip-flopping between the left and right sides of the road to avoid really impacts to driveways. But we've required the contractor to minimize those impacts to driveways as much as possible. There will be times where trenching and pipe work is being done immediately in front of somebody's driveway where there might be some temporary disruption, so they might lose a few hours during one particular workday. We've required the contractor at the end of each workday, whether he's finished with that pipe work or not, he's got to backfill or cover a plate or something so residents aren't impacted overnight or during non-working hours. So you hope the disruptions are as minimal as possible, and we will work with the residents going forward, sort of stay ahead of that construction progress in advance to give them a general idea of, okay, we think we're going to be in front of your house on Tuesday, Thursday.
We're going to run into a problem, because these are short days now, right? It's dark by 5 o'clock, and I think when can heavy equipment go? We passed that thing, was that 8 a.m.?
8 a.m.
Do you remember?
So the ambient light conditions, really aren't too much of an issue from the standpoint of construction activity. But the contract is required to provide a safe access to the work area and protect pedestrians and vehicular traffic to those areas. But we're going to work with the contractor to try to make sure that those disruptions are as minimized to the greatest extent possible.
Any other questions, comments? So, thank you, Mark. Mark, I'm gonna take advantage of the fact that you're here at such a
Sure.
late hour, so I appreciate it.
Sure.
At our last meeting, we had a gentleman come in who had recently purchased a home on Madison Avenue.
Okay.
And unfortunately, he's experienced a couple of flooding incidents, as we know. Can you speak to, whether there's anything the town can do to prevent the type of flooding that Madison Avenue experiences? We know what happens in downtown Sterling, we know what happens in Bungalow Hills, and we know what happens in the Madison Avenue area. Is that something that a project like we're doing on Crosshill could address, or is that something that needs a holistic type of approach, as was discussed back in the late aughts, or whatever we call those things nowadays?
Yeah.
And
That's really more of a holistic approach. I mean, anytime you do, well, I will classify Cross Hill Road improvements sort of as an isolated, it's really drainage conveyance project. You have an area there where water collects on the sides of the roads when you have drainage. I mean, it says no problem going down the hill, right? But it collects on the sides of the roads, and eventually you lose carrying capacity along the roadway. That's sort of a very refined collection system. Something like Madison Avenue requires something a little bit more on a broader scale. You really have to look at a much larger area in terms of trying to make a real meaningful impact in terms of drainage improvements, whether it be larger drainage pipes that would provide some sort of retention or detention within the pipe system. Sometimes you oversize pipes and try to store more water there. But you really have to look at it on a very, very specific basis. It's you really can't apply one equally to the other to really get those drainage improvements. So it really have to be looked at on a case-by-case basis.
Thank you. And
In response, I'm sorry.
Jack, go ahead.
In response to Mr. Lavender's question, they could start at 7 a.m.
7 a.m., okay.
Noise is prohibited between 8 p.m. and 7 a.m. the next morning.
Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
And I'm sure in the future, we will have much more detailed conversations
Sure.
regarding the flooding challenges that Long Hill Township has. And, specifically, I think downtown Sterling and Madison Avenue.
Yeah, and I think that I think the approach, and I look forward to those discussions. But there's some maybe longer term solutions, and then maybe some interim and solutions. And I think the important thing is you work towards one comprehensive solution if you can, and try to piecemeal things the best way you can, working towards one common vision. But I think that.
Yes.
After, I assume you're going to withdraw this resolution, but I was just hoping, if you don't mind, if Mark could quickly explain why we rejected all the bids for the Main Street improvements.
Okay. Is that okay, Mark?
Yeah, sure. Yep, I was.
Line them up, boys and girls. You're going to be here till midnight.
All right.
But I think you need to withdraw. Do they withdraw the resolution?
They don't have to make a motion, so
Right,
it just
they don't make a
dies in the
motion.
vine.
The mayor can just say we're pulling it, and if no one makes a motion, nothing happens.
Okay.
So we took bids on Main Avenue Streetscape, and the Main Avenue Streetscape project, we're really designing and developing as a two-phase project. This is the first of two phases. This phase focused on the southern end of the project, just off of Valley. There was a streetscape grant we received from the DOT that was really driving the schedule on this bid. That focused on extending the streetscape elements, the benches, the lights, and the other street furniture from Morris south to Valley. That grant had a sunset on it we had to award by November of this year through the DOT. We have a second grant from the DOT that sunsets next November. That is, the project limits and scope of that project are for the resurfacing of Main from Valley all the way to Long Hill Road. So you had two grants for two very specific purposes, and you cannot, in the DOT grant structure, you can't interchange monies. You have to spend the monies in each one of those limits. This particular project that we put out to bid focused on the streetscape element with the short time frame that we have for the grant now for the lighting work, and all the concrete handicap sidewalk work that has to be done, so that we could, the plan and idea was we would do the concrete work and the streetscape work now in the winter while it's less weather dependent than paving, finish that, let the base work settle a little bit, similar to the Crosshill concept, and then come back in the spring, resurface, and you have one clean resurface project. The road is all smooth. Based on the bids we received, we got 6 bidders. We got a mix. We got 3 what I'll call sidewalk contractors that subbed out the electric work, and we had 3 electric contractors that subbed out the concrete work, because the work was split about 50-50. The bids came in very high. Some of them were close together, but the lowest bid was 30% over the engineer's estimate, and we think that is really due to a few very significant factors. We think the supply chain and the material shortage has really affected the pricing of things. We're seeing bids throughout the state coming in very, very high. There's been some discussion and chatter at the state level regarding this exact problem, where they're seeing bids coming in very high. We're seeing other projects where we see no interest from contractors because they either have their workload anticipated for the year done, or they're just decided that they can't be competitive with this cost environment. So we're really seeing an anomaly in those cost areas. And I can't advise in good conscience to award this portion of the project knowing it's going to eat up about 80% of the budget we have for both projects combined. I had some discussions with the DOT to talk about the grant extensions, and while they do not genuinely favor or encourage extensions in grants, they want the municipalities to spend the money that's available at the time frame. They recognize the extenuating circumstances here too, so I've made a request to the DOT that we ask for a 6-month extension. It's the biggest extension they'll ever give. We asked for a 6-month extension on the current grant that sunsets this November. And by doing that, because they don't want us to use an extension as a way to get more time, so we kind of give up 6 months on the next year's grant. It's due November. But the plan is we take advantage of the optimum bidding season, which is really January, before the contractors have their workload set up. We're geared up to finish phase 2 of the design project, so we'll be ready to put it out on the street at the end of the year, January, so we can take advantage of the optimal bidding time, and we'll put out one bid package for all of the work. And we're hopeful that maybe material conditions will resolve itself. We take advantage of the optimal bidding time. I can't say that the supply lines or the economy is going to drop back down to real competitive pricing, but we hit the optimal window by advertising in January, and that's about the best chance we can do. So then we have to put it out to bid for all one package at that point in time and see where things fall. But the cost here at 30% over the engineer's estimate, I think, is way too high for the township to take on that financial burden.
Right, and so it's at the optimal time to go out to bid. Whatever it comes in at, that's probably the best we're gonna get throughout the whole year. So.
Try to line up our chances best we can, and then shoot for the optimal time, and as opposed to now, at the end of the year, contractors sometimes, on top of the material situations with cost now, contractors who sort of have their work laid out for the year, sometimes take the approach that, hey, I'll shoot high, and if I get it, it's great, but if I don't, no loss because I'm already covered for the year. I think we'd rather take advantage of the beginning of the year when the contractors don't have their workload really fully anticipated at this point yet. So the complication is just with the DOT grant fundings, but I think we have reasonable circumstances here to request the extension, and we can combine the projects, and we are sort of volunteer to give up the 6 months that we have on the in theory, we have 12 months for the second grant, but I'm willing to give that up to say, well, listen, we'll hit the January window as to offer that, and hope they'll grant the extension for us.
And by the way, back to the Crosshill project and the weather, none of us are engineers, so we're not nearly as knowledgeable as you are, but the reason why we have some experience with the time of year you don't want to pave is because Main Avenue, the very road you're talking about, The project, the last time it was paved, I think, was 2012 Sandy. That delayed the paving. We proceeded with the paving in December and January, et cetera, and the road broke down
Yeah,
very, very quickly. and they had to
quality
come
suffered,
back,
yeah.
And that's why whoever lives over there, that seam that goes down the middle, is, the reason was we paved at a time where we should not have.
Right.
So it's just coincidental. So anybody,
Mark,
anybody?
when was the last time we paved Central Avenue? I thought that was done. No?
12, right?
Oh,
Yeah,
2012.
2012.
With the grant.
No, I didn't think it was that long ago. Okay, that's my only
Yeah.
question.
Yeah, 2012.
The what? Oh.
Dated paid, yeah.
And it
That'll-
broke down, I apologize, Mark, Alan, sorry, our DPW director's in the audience. It broke down almost within a year. It's almost
Yeah.
immediate, and
Yeah.
so we learned our lesson.
Well, and, you know, temperature is very critical to asphalt paving, weather conditions, water conditions. When you have wet surfaces, that's always an issue. The equipment has gotten better with kind of heated joints, but the materials that they use in paving, each year, they seem to get a little bit more watered down. So the material specs have changed through the DOT over the years, and they become more temperamental. And what I've seen is the pavement materials are much less tolerant to ranges in temperature and moisture conditions as they were, say, even as early as 10 years ago, where it used to be some of the asphalt, it would hold its temperature more. You had a much higher tar content because of some of the restrictions with the manufacturing and some of the issues with some of the additives. There's less of that product in the material these days. So you're almost down to the point where you almost need, more optimal conditions to pave. And if it's less than optimal, then you get quality suffers a lot faster than it used to.
Mayor,
That-
can I add one thing?
I
In
thought
the,
you'd be here till midnight, Mark.
in the event that, it's unlikely, but in the event that DOT rejects our extension, we'll have to have a special meeting before November to accept the bid that was 30% over.
Yeah, that's the risk we're taking here. But
We'll visit that if we have to.
Right, so I just want to put it out there that that's a possibility. And so if we could skip environmental fees, the next item is also why I asked Vic to stay. Mark to stay.
What's the next item?
The next is environmental fees, but then Main Avenue light poles and clock is Committeeman Verleza asked me to put on, so I thought that Mark could speak to that because he has some prices.
Oh,
so
you
since
didn't have anywhere to go, right, Mark?
No, I'm good. So since we have these bid prices here, we estimate we took a look at what it would take to carry the lighting further north of, right now it terminates at Railroad Avenue. We would extend that up. I'll call it 2 blocks, but it's really sort of a block and a half. Extend it up to the drugstore. That would approximate. We need about another 12 to 14 lights based on that estimate, so to keep the spacing uniform through the street. Based on the bid pricing we got and our engineer's estimate, additional lighting would probably be around $140,000 to do that electrical work, to continue that conduit and electrical service up. You only get about really 2 blocks out of one load center. You've got to do individual meter cabinets with service each one, and it'll get a little more expensive too because you're not going to be able to jump the railroad tracks with the lighting conduit, so you got to start new on the north side. So you're probably looking at about a budget number of $140,000 for lighting on the north side. The clock, love the clocks, great look, extremely expensive. $40,000 to $50,000 for a clock is about the number that you get for downtown clocks.
My heart just sank.
I'm sorry, but yeah, it's I had done a project years ago, and the developer said, "Oh, let's look into a clock." And when I brought the numbers back from the vendor, he said, "This is, how many clocks did you spec here?" And I said, 1.
But in essence, with the grant, to continue the streetscape down to Valley Road, and the money that we would have to come out of, pocket, out of the taxpayers' money, to continue it north up to through the train station, which I really feel strongly it should be. The total cost of the project to do so, even with that classy-looking clock, would be about $180,000, $190,000, and we would get a significant amount of work done for that price. And
Right.
it would be done at one time. We would have something done well. lighting from the train station all the way down to Main Avenue, which I feel is appropriate. If you look at other towns, they don't leave the train station dark. The lights go from the train station down into the business district. It would be an opportunity to get it done, have it match reasonably well, and get it done at one time. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I think it was, and you know, and even if the advantage to the lighting work, to a large extent, the lighting work, since you're on the sidewalk areas, you're really not impacting the road pavement as much.
Right.
So if, I'm sure you haven't looked at the specifics of the plans, but if you look at the streetscape plans we just put out to bid now, the conduit's intended to sort of run under every driveway apron. So it runs behind the curb under the driveway apron. So you theoretically could construct the lighting improvements after you pave the road by working outside the curb lines and not impacting what you just paved. So there may be an opportunity, rather than try to bring that in before you do the paving work, if there may be an opportunity to take advantage of the next funding cycle at the DOT and try to maybe see if we can't get more grant money to, you know, maybe extend the streetscape improvements further north through the train station. Those grants come out. The streetscape grants are a little bit more competitive and more difficult to get than sort of the typical municipal aid mill and resurfacing grants. But we have a grant for this street now, and DOT likes continuity. They like extensions of projects, so they like the money focused on sort of an overall larger picture. So I think we've got some good application points where we could seek grant funding. I don't know what the timing of that grant availability would be, but we can certainly keep an eye on the grant applications and maybe make a play for extending the streetscape improvements further north through DOT. That may be a way to...
Do you feel as if it's a realistic chance, or is it a long shot?
Well, I think there's a lot of positives, right? I think there's a lot of positives. As I mentioned, you know, you have a street that the DOT has funded multiple times with grants for paving. They've funded streetscape money for this job, so that makes a lot of sense. It's not like you're looking for another road,
Right.
you know, way off and, you know, disconnected somewhere, you know, to pave. So I think those play in your favor. How realistic the grant application is really is going to depend on how much money's available and who applies, because those are competitive grants.
And if we were to be so fortunate, this is my last part of the question.
Okay.
And we were able to get those lights that went north, you know, past the train stations to St. Vincent's Church, you know, just before them. What would be the timeline for that? Are we talking another 3 years, or are we talking, you know, reasonable timeline? We could get this first portion of the project done, and then within a year or so, we're looking at the next one.
Yeah, realistic. I mean, you know, if you had the grant money, you know, in the beginning of, let's say, sometime in the middle of next year, you know, it'd be reasonable to expect that you could do the design inside of, you know, a couple of months and then put it out to bid. So, you know, you're not talking about extended timeline to get that streetscape work done. But if, you know, I think your options right now, given the structure of the grant and applications we have, the timing of the current money that's available, I think your only option, if you wanted to extend the lighting work, we would need to incorporate that into the design. You know, I don't think you have an opportunity to get grant money to do that if you tried to bring it in now, just because.
Got it. No,
right?
perfect.
But if you're comfortable looking at it as a separate project after the fact, then I think you can apply to the DOT for some additional money and see if they'll pay for that. You know, again, lighting they'll typically pay for, street improvements, I don't know about the clock, but that might be a cost share, you know.
Well, to your point,
Something
you know, a lot of positives, one of which is the state has partnered with the township over the years, including in that, Jack, I was going to ask you a question, because none of us were on the council at that point. The original project, and I don't know what year it was done, I believe the state partnered with the town on that, or no?
I believe they did, yeah.
I think the original streetscape, the
Way back
original
when,
lighting,
yeah.
was around 2003, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
2003, 2004, I believe that was
So that's
partially funded
another
by DOT.
positive. This is something they've been involved with for nearly 20 years.
Yep.
Correct. And you know, as much as they like to distribute the money for the street resurfacing projects, they also like to see things that look a little bit more substantial than just paving another road. So I think the fact that you've got DOT grant money applied to the street before, this is a continuation, or, you know, on that, all those things look, you know, way in your favor on reviewing a grant application. So that's a potential opportunity, but I think that's, you know, that could be a year or two down the line by the time that's realized, because again, we have to await the DOT grant cycles. They're done under different categories, right? So it's not just the road resurfacing budgets, they have a couple different ones. This is what's called transportation enhancements. So that grant funding follows a different cycle.
And while it's an outside chance for the clock, the fact is, Vic, as you point out, the train station's there, that's leading into what we hope can evolve into a business district.
Yes.
So it has some compelling reasons. It may not work, but it may.
It may, and you know, you might as well take a shot at trying to see if you can get grant funding for it if you're looking down that phase. I don't think it's realistic. The only realistic way to include it into the projects that you already have sort of in the queue now would be to come up with additional funding to pay for that, right? Because the grants won't support it. But I think realistically, you could do it after the fact with minimal intrusion into the pavement, and you could do that as another project down the line and try to continue that theme going forward.
I'm okay with that. It's a reasonable amount of time. And if, you know, worst came to worst and we, you know, weren't granted, we didn't get that additional grant, then we can make a decision if we
Right,
want to.
if the DOT says no, then you can
Right.
try a different
And
different
with
approach.
minimal, again, what you said, you know, minimal disturbance of the streetscape, you know, of the pavement and stuff, you know, it's not gonna be a large detriment if we don't do it at the same time.
Right. So you got, the grant money that we have for the streetscape work now is about $240,000 for the southern piece, the 2 blocks from Morris to Valley. And that is paying for the electric work, the lighting, the conduit, and modifications of the traffic signal for sensors for the demand actuation on the light. So just looking at those general numbers, you've got a 250 roughly number of grant money for streetscape. So if you applied for another $250,000 scale streetscape project as a northerly extension, you know, it's not. It's a repeat of what you have now, so it seems like a realistic application.
Awesome.
We don't know what the DOT will say, but you can ask the question.
And Vic, I want to thank you for keeping this on our radar. And Mark, thank you.
I've got one thing on the resolution rejecting all bids. If there's a chance the DOT may turn down our request for an extension, and we may want to award to this low bidder, I suggest that we reconsider that resolution and revoke that action and put it off, because the bids were opened on November 4th, so we have 60 days.
Yeah, 60 days, but that almost
If we
forces you
reject
to-
all bids, then the contractor won't be under any obligation to honor his bid.
But we don't have to take action on that tonight if you said it's 60
We've already
days from
rejected.
November 4th.
That's what I'm saying, but we did take action. We rejected all bids.
Oh,
So what I'm suggesting is
did,
we
yeah.
reconsider that resolution and revoke the action rejecting all bids and table the resolution until December 8th.
but I
Yeah.
think that's,
It's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or a
motion?
special meeting if necessary.
Jack,
Or
you
we
have
could
to-
you could reject them on December 8th if the DOT goes ahead
Right.
with
This is
it.
the
That's the
extension.
only time it will matter, and we've
Right.
got plenty of time.
Right.
So, yeah, I would just do a motion to reconsider the approval of Resolution 21-297 by
Okay.
revoking the approval and then tabling the resolution until the December 8th meeting.
Can we have a motion to do what Jack just said? Please don't try to repeat it.
So moved.
Second.
Who was the motion? Scott, and then Vic second.
Committeeman Dorsey?
Yes.
Committeeman Lavender?
Yes.
Committeeman Verleza?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ray?
Yes.
Mayor Paserchio?
Thank you.
Yes. And Mark, thank you. We really do appreciate you spending so much time with us this
My
evening.
pleasure.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Oh, you're welcome. Have a good evening, folks.
Back at you. Now we'll go liaison reports. Matt?
Yes, all right. DPW,
Yeah,
speaking of
thank
Main Street, please go check out the veterans banners. They put them up, I think a week ago. They're on Main and they're over at Town Hall, so please take a walk around or pay attention while you're walking around. There's some really good pictures and history up there. For the fire departments, another thing is, don't forget with the holidays coming up, with parties, gifts coming in, don't forget about our robust recycling program. We have the cans that I checked 2 days ago, actually. The aluminum trailer is about 80% full and almost ready to go to St. Barnabas. So let's get one more push to have one more donation to the burn victims at St. Barnabas. That'd be great. And the styrofoam, don't forget that when you're getting packaging for the holiday deliveries. That's a very busy program, and please keep using it. As to the fire departments, on Black Friday, the Sterling Fire Department will be at Mountain and Valley Road doing their coin toss, and Millington's doing theirs on December 11th up at the Blinking Light in Millington. So even if you don't have to go that way, please drive through there, everybody, and give them some money, because a lot of their budget, as well as the rescue squad too, is based on donations from the public. They give a lot of time, and they don't ask for anything back. So please help support them, because when you need them, they're there. Also, Firefighter Santa's back, as always, a very popular program. So if you want Santa to show up at your house in a fire truck, please contact either Millington or Sterling Fire Departments through their Facebook or website or email. Thank you.
Thank you. Brendan?
No, please.
Scott?
I'll defer to Vic first.
All right.
All right, fire away, Vic.
The police liaison report for November 10th, 2021 is as follows. Self-initiated calls for service year to date, 17,892. School activity year to date, 1,664. Motor vehicle stops year to date, 1,709. Community policing and proactive residential radar posts, 1,502. Arrest incidents year to date, 27. And actual subjects, both adult and juvenile, that were arrested is 31. Major incidents, we have no major incidents to report, but we do have a special request. Please be advised that a helicopter will be in use on November 19th and 20th as part of the new towers and ongoing power line upgrades that you see happening in certain areas around town. Affected roadways that may incur temporary traffic delays will include Mountain Avenue, Long Hill Road, Hickory Tavern Road, Myersville Road, and Crestwood Road. And that concludes my police liaison's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Vic. Scott?
Okay. Recreation. So first off, basketball. Recreation basketball, grades 1 through 8, starts this Saturday. No, next Saturday, the 20th, November 20th, a week from Saturday. So that's recreation basketball, grades 1 through 8. Adult basketball open play has been going on since October. Adults can still register and play, and that's going to continue into May. And so, you know, we just got out of the Halloween season and all the fun and activities on that. Well, Christmas, the holiday season is starting up. First thing we have, letters to Santa. The Long Hill Parks and Recreation Department has been authorized by Santa Claus to help gather letters to Santa from Long Hill children and deliver them to the North Pole. Starting on November 26th, letters can be dropped in a special mailbox located at Town Hall near the library entrance, and they can be mailed to the following address. Take this down, Brendan. Santa, care of Long Hill Parks and Recreation, 915 Valley Road, Gillette, New Jersey, 07933. And if you don't know how to write this letter, you can actually find a Santa letter template on our website, believe it or not. So when you ask for that new fire truck, Deputy Mayor Ray, it's like halfway written for you.
Excellent.
All right. Next. Myersville Tree Lighting Association event. That's going to be at Myersville Circle on Sunday, December 5th at 5 p.m. Put that in your calendar. Also, the second annual Holiday Cookie Decorating Contest starts November 26th. So information is on our website. Make your cookies, decorate them, and submit photos of your cookies to recreationassistant@longhillnewjersey.gov. The categories are children under 10 years old, children 10 plus years old, and adults. The winners are going to be announced December 22nd, and you can check out last year's delicious entries on our website. Next, the second annual Holiday House Business Decorating Contest is going to start. Register on Community Pass by December 5th. Here are the categories. Write this down. Best traditional / classic, most unique, best theme, best dressed business, brightest, high tech, best yard display. Decorations must be visible from the roadway. Judging will take place December 13th through 17th, and participants agree to have photos of their decorated homes posted on the website and in the newspapers. Winners will be given lawn signs to display identifying their home or business as a winning entry in the contest. Registration is open to all Long Hill residents and businesses. And that's what's going on.
Thank you, Scott. And I would add, but maybe Deputy Mayor Ray might be able to give us some color on this. I've heard rumors, I don't know if it's true.
Color like banana yellow decorations or mint green?
No, I wasn't going to go there. That Santa Claus may actually be in town on December 18th. I think December 18th.
December 18th?
I think that's the
Right?
plan.
And I think we're working on details with both the Sterling Fire Company and
And Millington.
the Leach Fire Company, so this is true.
I-
Is there a way that our children can sign up for this?
Absolutely. On the Sterling and Millington Facebook page, as Matt said, our Facebook page or our website, they can sign up and get a visit from Santa Claus.
Wow, it's unbelievable. So much happening.
It's incredible.
He does exist.
And you guys are a very difficult act to follow. The only thing I want to do, I do this probably most weeks, and I'm going to do it again. A special thank you and a shout out to our first responders, our police department, our fire companies, our first aid squad, our CERT members, our OEM. I can tell you, we deal with a lot of towns throughout the state, and each of those groups are second to none. We are the envy of towns throughout the state for what all of those groups do, so thank you very much. Now the bummer of the night. We have seen vandalism take place at Cantor Park and at the library. There are cameras, and unfortunately, while it is dismaying, it's especially disappointing because we're quite certain that the vandals in this case are residents in town. They are some of our own. And looking at that, we know who was involved. The vandalism that took place at the library, not once but twice, the same individuals damaged the doors. And I think this committee has directed the administrator to speak with Police Chief Naga, and I think we will be addressing that. So, one, it's just wrong, and I can't tell you how disappointing it is to this committee that they are residents of our township, and two, you're going to get caught. There are cameras here, so please don't do it. And the litter and et cetera that takes place at Cantor Park. One, remember who this park is named after. For those who don't know why it is named Matthew G. Cantor Memorial Park, there's a plaque at the flag just outside the turf field. Read that, and the next time you're compelled to throw away your Burger King garbage on that field or in this park, you're not just disrespecting public property, you're disrespecting the person, the hero who this park is named after. All right, I think we can get on to item number 10, right? Old, new business?
Administrator.
Oh, geez, Nancy, I think I had 2 or 3 meetings in a row I didn't skip you.
I know, you were on a roll. We also need to get back to discussion for environmental fees, so I'll just include that as part of my report if you want.
Sure.
First, I wanted to mention that Meadowview Road, the emergency bridge repair was completed today. And, I'm sorry, it's not a bridge. The emergency road repair was completed today. It looks fantastic if you want to take a ride by. So thank you to Al Gallo and to our contractor for getting it done so quickly. At the last meeting, we spoke about the generator at the old schoolhouse, and I mentioned to you the fact that we don't have enough setbacks, the proper setbacks. You asked that we speak with the next door neighbor, and Shane Daly was, because she's familiar with the people who live next door, she was kind enough to speak to the woman who lives there and the woman has no issues with it. So I just would like to know if you're okay with us starting the process to get the generator done. We won't be able to do till next budget year because it came in a lot higher than what we had budgeted. So if we can start the process for next year, if you're all right with it. Okay.
Sure. And thank you, Shane, for speaking with the neighbor.
Okay. I wanted to announce the parking passes will go on sale on December 6th, Monday, December 6th. They are available online. We're doing online sale again this year. Residents should visit our website for the 2022 passes beginning December 6th. They can follow the directions on the site and can pay online, or they can mail a check-in. Residents who do not want to buy them online do have the ability to come in this year into the clerk's office to buy their pass. So any questions, they can call the clerk at 647-8000, extension 215, or by email, which is municipalclerk@longhillnj.gov. We discussed at the last meeting, what about putting parking machines in? I'm waiting for a quote. We did discuss, Megan and I discussed waiting to see how many passes were bought, because in the unlikely event that all of them are bought, then there'd be no need for the daily machine, so.
You know, I meant, Megan, I meant to send you a question, or Nancy. 2020 is probably reflective of what the normal season passes are, because that was before COVID really took hold. Do you know offhand, and if not, maybe we can just, I'm curious what the season passes that were sold each of the stations.
I can get back to you as soon as Administrator Moguls done with it.
That's fine.
I'll
It's
look it up
nothing
right now.
immediate. And part of the reason, Vic, I'm asking is because I know Assemblyman Bramnick, Senator-elect
Yes.
Bramnick, and who else was here? What was Assemblyman-elect Massacutis here?
Yes, and Nancy Munoz also.
And Assemblywoman Nancy Munoz. And the conversation, what they're proposing and hopefully working on, is rebuilding the train station that was at the Sterling train station.
Correct.
And so, I think the number of riders that come out of there adds to the compelling. So we should have a good handle on the number of riders that come out of that station. And that adds to the whole thing that we discussed earlier today with our township engineer in terms of the work that we are proposing. So it would kind of work all together.
Yep.
So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying, Megan, I'm curious what the typical season passes are at the Sterling Station. All right, back to you, Nancy.
Okay, as Committeeman Verleza mentioned, PSC&G needs to string the wires on the new towers. And from what I'm told, it's a very entertaining thing to watch because the helicopters actually guide the wires from tower to tower, and they're the ones who install it from the helicopter. It will involve some minor traffic delays. I'm told, I met with PSC&G last week, I'm told that it takes, say 5 to 10 minute stoppages because while the helicopter goes over the roads that were mentioned, they can't have traffic going through. So what our PSC&G representative told me is that most people don't get aggravated because they're so enthralled by watching the helicopters. So if anybody's not busy on the 19th or 20th between 9 and 5, take a look over on that side of town, and I don't know, it seems like it'd be entertaining. So the roads and the days that those roads will be impacted is on our website and on Facebook and on TV. We talked about the bus driver. Some good news, lighting for the tennis courts and the basketball courts, which you approved earlier this year in this year's budget. The project will soon be underway. We met with the contractor today. We hope that the lights will be installed by the end of December. There will be 4 lights at the tennis courts and 2 lights at the basketball court. The courts and walkways will have to be closed for short periods of time during the month of December to get the work done. The lights are directed down at the courts, and we have been assured that there is no spillage or leakage out to Valley Road. Along those same lines, though, the 40 trees that we wanted to screen, Cantor Park, were planted this week. They're out there, so if you tomorrow want to take a look, they look beautiful. We took a walk out there yesterday. They're all in. They look fantastic. They'll provide a great screen as they grow. They're 5 foot, at least 5 foot. And along those same lines, you had a discussion at the last meeting about clearing that area between where those new trees are and Valley Road. So the DPW director got a quote to clear all but, say, the first 10 feet or so from Valley Road, because part of that is a county right-of-way, and part of it is too steep of a hill for DPW to have to maintain. So it would be approximately $36,000 to remove the trees and stumps, many of which are already dead or diseased, and spread topsoil and grass seed, and to provide and plant 15 flowering ornamental trees in their places. So I think it would be a nice improvement to the area.
So do I.
And, because of the cost, unless you wanted to use the Open Space Trust Fund, we don't have it in the budget this year. And I don't know that it could get done this year anyway. So it would probably be a spring project. So something, I don't know, if you want to discuss it now for our budget planning process that we're beginning.
Well, I'll let Vic take over that part. I just want to thank, I know you worked in finding a nursery to plant the trees that you referenced. And correct me if I'm wrong, because not only were the trees purchased from them, but they did the planting, the trees are guaranteed for a year. Does that sound right?
Yes, they're guaranteed, and actually I want to thank the DPW director, because he was one who went to Rose Valley and got the second quote, and they came in, significantly less than the other quote that we had. They are guaranteed for a year because they did plant them, because we bought from them and they planted them. They're guaranteed for a year, with the exception of deer, drought, or physical damage like, God forbid a car rode into it or whatever.
And a special thank you to the Beautification Committee, Mead Briggs, chairperson,
Yep.
and Vic, and Scott, I know you're liaisons with Mead and his team.
No, that's Matt.
Oh, Matt, I
I
apologize.
wasn't at the last meeting, I was somewhere else.
We're not the, so no thank,
No, you can contact.
more thanks to Vic. That's a joke, not a good one. But thank you to Mead and his team, because I know they put a lot of work into this. And not just this, they're looking at other parts of town, and Vic, I know, and Matt, you guys are working on that as well. So, and Vic, now to you about the flowering trees, which I know is something you've been working on as well.
Yes, no, thank you so much, Nancy, Al Gallo, and everybody else who worked on this project, Mead and the Beautification Committee. This is something that I think is crucial as we try to beautify that central corridor on Valley Road. I think that's a crucial stretch of land. It comes, it's in front of Cantor, and it's right adjacent to City Hall. And it's substantial, and I think to have flowering trees and make it look attractive and well-kept, yet have, the line of arborvitaes closer to the field, in order to shield light, off of the residents on Valley Road. I think when it's done, it's gonna look great, and everybody should be happy with it.
Thank you,
So,
Vic.
thank you.
So do you want to have the discussion now, if you want to make that investment into clearing that area?
I'm open to discussing it now. I mean, I guess, would you like it to be in the form of questions to you?
Well,
Can we approve it?
I mean,
Can we approve?
yeah, I mean, if you have questions, of course, and if I can't answer them, Al is here, but I have the quote here. We would have to get two quotes. I kind of already said how much it was, so I kind of blew that. But we'd have to get another quote.
Well, if there's a contractor out there that wants the job, they'd be below
They can-
$36,000.
I have a quick question, and I'm sorry, but I just was brought to my attention. I think the sign is something on the entrance to Valley Road, too, that is also
So the sign will be underway. I think we have to wait for spring for that, right? We have to wait for spring for that. We have a sign that is identical to the other Cantor Park signs that are in the park. They're blue with gold lettering, I think. We had that made earlier this year. The beautification committee determined that we would like it to kind of mirror the sign out here that says Township of Long Hill, the brick sign. So it'd be smaller, obviously, and it would be at the entrance on Valley Road.
On the eastern portion,
Right,
where the walkway is from the school.
yes.
The area that used to flood, that was remediated, you know, in preparation to have a nice entrance off of Valley Road.
Right, so DPW is going to install the sign, and then we need to get a mason to, build the wall around it. And we thought that we could have, it would probably be a little bit high up and filled with dirt, so we could put some flowers in.
Yes, that would be great.
So that'll be happening this spring.
That would be, not to add to your already busy schedule, something that's troubled me. We worked with the county several years back to put that guardrail from the school to Cantor Park. And the county, because it's a county road, they kindly did put that in, but I don't know why they stopped about 20 feet before the very entrance we're referring to.
Yes.
And that troubles me because that is an emergency walkway for the children from Gillette School. And anybody who's ever had a child knows that if you pen them in for a little bit of a way, once they have freedom, they're going to start scattering, and I just don't think it's safe. I really would like the county to complete that guardrail.
If I might
Sure, Vic.
piggyback on, I know I've been speaking a lot tonight, but I happened to be exercising one day, and there was a truck that went off the road prior to where the guardrail starts, where it should be extended. It was in the ditch. Thank God no one was walking there. So yes, to your point, not only do you want, God forbid, a student running out into the street, you want to protect them from oncoming traffic. And I believe that, I don't know if Al Gallo or Chief Naga, if you guys were aware of the incident that I'm talking about. I think you are. Where the truck went off the road, right on Valley Road, right in front of the entrance to Cantor Field. There was police activity there. You guys are looking at me with that blank look. I swear I saw it. I was there. But anyway,
Right,
it's dangerous. It could be dangerous.
You know, we're adding to that as being an entrance to the park, which it's not just when there's an emergency where the children have to walk. It's just, we want people to walk into the park there. We're inviting them. We're putting a sign there. We're cleaning it up.
Right, I will check with the county engineer to see if we can get that done.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Nancy, floor still yours.
Well, no, I'm just waiting to see if there are questions about the work that we have the quote for if you
Okay,
want
well,
to do that.
I'll
if
open
you
it
want.
up to the committee. I mean, any comments, or can, you would look for approval this evening, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think
Or
it'll look great,
consensus.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
So-
I'd be in favour of doing that. I mean, I think we've already started one part of the park there, a lot of dead trees there. If I was willing to do it and can do it, some trees in there would be really nice. So I would be certainly in favour of it.
I think,
Nancy, what was the price that was on? I don't have it in front.
If you're
Well,
speaking out.
yeah, I'd rather not say it again because,
Yeah, I don't want you to say it because there's actually portions of that quote that,
yeah, I subtracted that already,
okay.
yeah.
What kind of trees would you be putting there,
Flowering ornamental,
such as?
It'd be up to what you guys would like.
what, dogwoods, whatever, I mean,
Would we have to consult the shade tree committee on that?
we could ask, we do have the arborist,
Right.
although Al's a arborist of sorts anyway, he could recommend something. I mean, I know that he'd mentioned that the nursery had recommended, I forget what they're called, but they drop a lot of petals and it's kind of messy. So I mean, maybe something that is not,
Like a Japanese cherry tree, they grow fairly quickly, too. They would get to full size quickly.
yeah, as long as they
I think would be a
don't,
bonus here. Dogwoods take a
They have
long
an
time to grow.
expiration, unfortunately, I have a beautiful series of
About 25
cherries
years.
along my driveway, but they're starting to
About
get old.
25 years.
They
Yeah.
have an age.
Well, those trees of paradise, they seem to, they're cheap.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we got
And-
plenty of those.
Yeah.
I
They're
don't-
cheap and they get
He's
into
being a
big
wise
old-
guy.
I mean, we can come back to you with some recommendations for what kind of trees they would be.
But we could approve it pending that recommendation.
Just give Nancy the go-ahead.
The go, we could give the go-ahead pending.
Right, so
Yeah,
we'd get a second quote, and then you would just need to let me know whether you want me to budget this out of the general budget or you want to use the open space trust fund.
Yeah, I mean, open space would be fine, if we have any money left there. We seem to be taking a lot of money out of there.
Open space,
But we
yes,
replenish a lot because
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
rental
because,
fees.
yeah, definitely. That-
yes,
that open
use open
space,
space.
Okay, voice vote, consensus.
Yes.
Uh,
Would you like to start the first half of that project this year as far as clearing the lot and then the seeding in the spring? Or do you want to wait until the spring to do everything?
You mean clear it, start clearing it now?
Clear it anytime.
The portion that DPW can do, there's a portion because of the slope that you cannot do, correct?
The right of way along Valley Road, it can't do, that's county.
Okay.
Once we get off that slope, the flat side will be lawn, which will be great for us to maintain a lot easier than what's growing there now, as far as the maintenance standpoint, and I think it would really help.
But just to be clear though, so the first 10 feet or so off Valley Road is still gonna have all that brush in it? And some trees?
No, just brush.
All the trees, we don't, just the brush? Just so you're aware of that.
Well, it depends, if you don't, if you have the man hours to do it, I know you're kind of tight, and if weather changes,
Well, they wouldn't be doing it.
Yeah, they'll be,
Oh, okay.
It would be
well, there's some work that we're involved.
Is it necessary to?
it's not necessary to do it now.
You know me, if we can start it now,
I
why
know, I
wait till
know.
tomorrow? Let's start it.
Well, I guess that depends, Jack. Do we need a resolution from the Open Space Trust Fund? I think we do, you said?
Yes. Well, I think we could do a motion.
If you pull all that brush down now, it's going to be pretty blank there for the winter. I would say leave it there so you still have some of that hiding capability, so to speak, because you're going to have nothing there except these 4-foot arborvitae, which aren't going to be tall enough.
5 feet.
Well, all right, every foot counts.
And you would still have the 10 feet though from the street onto the berm.
But that's going to be below the visual line.
Builder Bob just wants to get in there.
Why wait?
No,
Hey,
look,
whatever you,
I kind of
everybody
agree
thinks
with
is best.
Scott, and I think
Yeah,
Brendan,
yeah.
I mean, just leave it alone. Keep in mind, one of the things, the hanging participle here or something like that is we had assured the people that live across from Cantor Park when we built the turf field and put in those lights, that we would provide that buffer, and we are honoring that. We are going to put it in. And in fact, we're gonna make it a lot nicer than it ever looked. So I mean, I think we can wait. Vic,
Okay.
look, thank you. You keep honest, but I think I agree with Scott. Let's just leave it alone for now. Even though it's dead and, or dying in there, the stuff that's going to be removed, it does act as a buffer. And I don't know, the lights, when will they be in?
Lights will be done by the end of the year.
Right, and, kids being kids, they'll play, without snow on the ground, they'll play basketball or tennis in 30-degree weather. So those lights will be on, I think, right?
The lights are on a timer, so they will be able to be used between, let's say, 6 and 10, right? They will only come on when somebody wants to use them. So the way that we're gonna try it is there will be a sign there that says if you want to play tennis or you want to use the basketball court, you press a button, and then the light stays on for an hour. The lights stay on for an hour. 5 minutes before they're about to go off, a yellow flashing light starts flashing, lets them know they have 5 minutes left, so they either can get off while it's still light, or they can press the button for another hour. So what that does is it makes sure that those lights just don't stay on for 4 hours a night.
That's pretty high-tech and
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, and Lisa also will have the controls where if somebody, turned on the lights and then decided they didn't want to play, and she happened to notice on the cameras that nobody's there, she could turn them off from her phone.
This is well, pretty cool.
So the point is that they just won't be constantly on every night until 10 o'clock. They'll only be on when people are using them. And like I said, the contractor assured us, lights have come a long way over the years, and they've assured us, they gave us a diagram that shows that there's zero leakage, spillage of the lights. I want to say like 20 feet out from the end of the field. That's where it stops.
And the proof of where lights have come, we were the first field in the state. It was just fortuitous timing. We didn't plan it that way. But the lights that are on the turf field, we were the first or amongst the first in the state to have those kind of lights. And sure enough, if you go there right now, I know the lights were on, but if you walk to the tennis courts are pitch black.
Right.
There is no spillage from it. Of course, you can see the lights are on from a distance. But the spillage, or whatever the technical term is for it, there's none.
Right.
So, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll work on getting a second quote for that, and then we'll plan it for next year.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you, Nancy.
Mayor Paserchia, I
Yes.
have the numbers from 2020.
Oh, okay.
So in 2020, we're allowed to sell 65 Sterling passes. We sold 48. Gillette, we sold 140.
And it was that 140 was the max?
Correct. And Millington, we sold 90, and we can sell up to 150.
We sold 90 for Millington. I'm surprised. All right, okay, thank you. That's great. Now,
Wait,
Oh.
I forgot the environmental fees.
all right, fire away.
We had a request from the Department of Health for you to implement certain environmental fees. We do not charge for these things, and there's a lot of work that goes into them. They have suggested a $500 fee for septic applications. We currently don't have any fee. She mentions that the last two plans she received required 5 different reviews due to changes to the design. Alterations would be $350. Septic repairs suggested is $75. And then she mentions that there's a lot of work that goes into it, but she meant, and septic abandonment would be $100, and percolation testing would be $100. She came up with the suggestions because that's what they do in
I
Bernard's.
was just about to ask.
Right, so those are the fees they have there, and we currently have no fees for those things. And we keep the money, it doesn't go to the,
It's not like
Health
permit
Department.
fees for, yeah.
no, it doesn't go to
construction.
the state, it doesn't go to anybody else, it comes to us. So, it makes sense to me, if you're putting in a septic system, that we would be able to charge an application fee for that.
So are we actually spending that amount of money for reviews and?
Well, we spend it in our shared service agreement that we pay the county, that we pay Bernard Township for.
Right.
So we're paying them, and this is an area of revenue that we could, and it makes sense to me that we should, take advantage of. Take advantage is not the right word, but we should. We were kind of putting a lot of work in when somebody has a septic application and we're not charging them anything.
Should it be a Board of Health ordinance?
I don't know, that's your call.
You see, I thought we'd discussed this before, and I'm surprised that we're not charging, because we seem to, I remember talking about it, at least I thought we'd implemented it, but no, obviously not the case.
No, what we did talk about, probably that was part of it, but what we did talk about is overall increasing our dining fees, our fees for inspecting food licenses and things. And at the time, I think, I might have even been last year, you didn't want to do it because restaurants were having such a hard time, because of COVID. And so I think we just kind of tabled the whole thing. And so now she's only asking for the environmental fees. We can revisit the other ones at some point next year if you'd like to. But if we could just implement these fees.
We do have septic applications, new plan review, $500, repair replacing existing components, $75, alteration, $350,
Well,
perk test, $100.
well, the chart she gave me showed that we
Septic-
had nothing for that.
Septic abandonment, $100.
Yeah. Yeah,
Good memory.
I thought we
Yeah.
talked about it.
So I guess we have it in place, we just aren't enforcing it, or whatever the word is.
I'm gonna have to go back to her on that because the chart she gave me shows that we had nothing for those.
Maybe she looked in just the township code, not the Board of Health ordinances, which are at the
okay.
back of the code.
And so those things you just read are what she
Exactly what she
suggested.
recommended. So I
So we
suggest-
probably based them off basking,
I
off
suspect she
burners.
recommended these in 2016.
Okay, so maybe she looked in the wrong part
So,
of the code.
Can I have a motion to enforce what's already on the books?
Yes.
You charge?
And if you want to revisit those other fees.
Sure.
We could do that.
Right? Well, I don't want to speak for the whole committee, but why not,
Okay.
right?
Okay, all right, sorry about that. Thank you.
No, no need to apologize. And remarkably, I think in the midst of all this, it's quite amazing. Brendan, you actually remembered this. All right, old, new.
Old new. Real quick, with the holiday season rapidly approaching, would like to see, what we started last year, the holiday lights, maybe expanded upon, or if, am I allowed to say this?
No, I actually have something. I got your email and I ordered a 4-foot wreath for the old schoolhouse. A
Awesome.
4-foot lit battery operated wreath.
Awesome.
And also you had brought up Turtle Rock Park. The only issue, I talked to Al about this, is I don't think we have the electric connection right now for a lit decoration.
Okay,
Plus, they're a little more pricey, and it's a little late in the year to get something large like that. So I think that will have to wait.
okay.
But I did get the wreath, and I wanted to. I think somebody had mentioned battery-operated candles for
Yes.
windows at the Millington Schoolhouse. We try to stay away from religious decorations. I don't think candles can be religious. I don't think they're religious. I think they're kind of
I
secular.
think that's, non.
So, we could easily get the battery-operated candles as well.
But are they allowed in the historic part?
I'm sorry?
Are they allowed in the historic part?
Yeah, I think the candles are
I
okay.
think that falls under, I think, ask for forgiveness.
So, I figured that everybody would be okay with a $350 wreath and some candles.
And some improvements also along Main Avenue, correct? From last year, like from what
So in Main Avenue, we have, we had garland around the poles and we had banners. The garland last year was battery operated and it wasn't really working out that well. The lights were kind of sporadic.
Yes.
We converted those, or we will be converting those to plug-in.
Yes,
So every other pole is gonna have lit garland, and then we bought lit trees that will go on alternating poles. They're 4 or 5 feet.
awesome.
And then here, in addition to the Happy Holiday sign that we bought last year, we have 2 snowmen and 2 candy canes that will be also added.
By the way, again, thank you, Vic. You're the one that stayed on top of this, and Nancy for implementing it, and Al and your team. I don't know about the rest of you. I received so many kudos for the Happy Holiday sign that was
Yeah.
out there last
It's
year.
nice, right?
Yes.
And I, of course, duly took credit for it.
Just, actually, just as a follow-up, Vic's Holiday Cheer is creating a lot of extra work, I think, for DPW. And so,
It is.
so yeah, I hope your elves can
Stay
handle all
cheerful.
this additional work.
It does take a lot for them to put up the Happy Holiday sign in now. They have added to it the other ornaments. We did have to have some electrical work done, a new box out here, a new panel. We had to have some work done on the poles on Main, but I believe it's all finished. It's almost finished this
We-
week.
You know, we often talk about our I'm quite certain, and I don't know, Al, would they get in the way or would they be of assistance? If we put out a call for volunteers to help with this, would that help you or would it maybe impede progress?
Most of the stuff we're gonna be doing is gonna be off the bucket truck.
Okay, yeah, that maybe.
You would have one volunteer in the bucket truck.
Anybody think that a volunteer like me could actually operate a bucket truck or?
Maybe you could go in the bucket.
I was in the water thing that back there. That was in the bucket,
That's true.
water bucket or whatever it was called.
Yeah.
All right, so, any more old, new? Announcements? You know, I know we talked about Santa Claus, December 18th, Billington and Sterling Fire Company. Christmas trees, December 5, at the Myersville Circle at 5 p.m. I encourage everybody to get there a little bit early at 4:30. It always starts right on time, it's sharp. Santa Claus will be there as well. He's going to be very, very busy.
And will there be pretzels being made there?
You know, that's an interesting question. We have to reach out to our pretzel elf, Bruce Marengolo, because he's the one. Scott, could you do that? Reach out to Bruce, you think?
I can.
That's a lot of work, I know.
You're
And in
tying,
fact, correct me if I'm wrong, the grill or whatever is used there, that
Yeah,
came
Bruce.
from
Bruce.
Yeah.
did it come from Sunny Slope or?
I think
oh, it
I think
might
it was
have,
Bruce's
yeah,
grill.
well, no, I thought it come from the firehouse, right?
Oh,
No, it didn't come from us, no.
Or
I
maybe
think it was
did come from-
Bruce's.
Maybe it's mine.
I think it might be actually.
I think it was.
Yeah.
So now, you know, the way it works in Long Hill, so
Yeah.
you've inherited this
I've got,
responsibility.
I am the pretzel liaison now.
And the pretzels are a huge hit that night. And if you
Yes.
don't have them, I'm quite
People are gonna
certain-
be angry, I got it.
And I volunteer for pretzel duty for sure.
When,
Bruce might not.
Beyond it myself.
Sorry,
what
Matt?
are they doing the Knights of Columbus? Don't they collect the turkeys?
That's this,
Gotta be coming up before our next meeting.
Ah,
I think
you
it's
know what?
this Sunday, right?
I have an announcement.
Yes, sorry, but to finish your thought, Matt, that's this Sunday.
Is it? Okay,
At
good,
St.
'cause I
Vincent de Paul, you're talking about the,
Without endorsing religion, yes. For charitable purposes only. But yes,
So they're collecting the turkeys?
yeah, that's what I wanna know because, I mean, they get a lot of turkeys. They
Yeah.
get like
they
over
get-
200.
Yep, actually, I
I know like
usually,
Sean Kane runs that, so I don't know if
100%,
reach out to him.
it is,
So Mayor, will you be here at the next meeting? Collecting the turkeys and...
I'll be at, I'll probably be at that, yes.
Box truck at Patterson.
So, all right, let's complete that thought. This Sunday at St. Vincent de Paul, despite what Matt just said, it is at St. Vincent de Paul's parking lot, and I believe they're there from 7 a.m., certainly by 8 a.m. till noon, collecting the turkeys.
Right, and so last Saturday, most of the residents in town would have gotten a flyer in their mailbox from the Boy Scouts, Troop 56, regarding a food donation drive where, you know, the troop is collecting all kinds of food and things for needy families, and that food is going to be collected at the food pantry at St. Vincent's Church. Also, some of it will be distributed to All Saints and other charitable organizations. So this Saturday, get your bags of food out on the street by 10 a.m., earlier than that, because the cars are going to be out at 10 a.m. picking it up. You'll be absolutely amazed at how much food Long Hill residents donate. The St. Vincent's Pantry last year was overfilling by capacity All Saints was overfilled by capacity, and we were bringing food up to Dover and Newark and other places. So get your bags out early in the morning. There'll be cars out, boys and girls, picking things up to bring to St. Vincent's.
And Scott, you may have just mentioned, what types of items?
Canned goods, box goods, please, anything that's not expired, right? Non-refrigerable things. So, you know, beans, soups, desserts, you name it. If it can go in a bag, it's not expired, and it doesn't need to be refrigerated, they'll take it.
And what are the hours on Saturday?
We'll be out at 10 a.m. doing pickups, so get it out there like by 9. Right, leave it by the curb in a bag with the flyer attached to it.
Thank you, Scott. Any others? And of course, the most important announcement of all, tomorrow is Veterans Day. Please remember the meaning of Veterans Day. A big thank you. We have a veteran right here with us today. So thank you for everything you have done, all the men and women who have served and are continuing to serve. And if you have your flags, please get them out there. Your American flags, that is. That's it. So I think at this point, I'd like to open up the meeting to the public. Remarks, statements pertaining to any matter, if you could, but there's not that many people here in person, although I know many are watching at home. Please, the mic is open to you.
Charles Renowitz, Millington, New Jersey. Mayor, I'm surprised that one announcement that was lacking tonight, given the history of Committeeman Dorsey's family. Today is the 246th birthday of the United States Marine Corps.
Yep.
And I know Matt's father served, I served. So happy birthday to the United States Marine Corps. I know that was a misstep by the mayor,
Yes, it was,
but
and
that's okay.
I do apologize
It's okay.
to the Marines.
Chuck, my dad served in the Marines as well.
There you go.
And my Marine flag is flying on my front lawn today.
I took it down at sundown tonight.
Yeah.
I put it up at sunrise. I took it down at sunset. Item number 2, the Crosshill Road project. It's my understanding that this township has applied to be honored for its best practices and what they follow according to the state and the county. What I've heard the last several months about the Crosshill Roads project, in awarding the contract, investigating the contractor, issuing a letter of STAR, or whatever the letter is so described, and tonight's discussion, I don't believe we as a township should be honored with best practices considering what's happened with the Crosshill Town project. Way back when, a couple months ago, they were going to start working on this, and he was getting the pipe, and everybody's going to get lined up. I don't believe that happened. Now we're committed to December 18th. I'm not a betting man, but I wouldn't bet that that's going to occur. I've also laid asphalt during my college summers and know what it takes to put down that base. And I don't think that's going to happen. So I would suggest you as a township committee take a look at what our best practices are in awarding and initiating contracts, because I don't believe this town is anywhere near best practices.
Chuck,
Number 3.
Before you go on to number 3, I'd like to at least comment to number 2.
You want to comment number 1?
What was one? No.
That was the Marine Corps.
No, I already apologized. I mean, I try not to offend anybody. I especially don't want to offend the Marines.
No, I agree.
So, happy birthday, Marines.
Thank you.
I want to be very clear on that.
Yes.
And if you have a Marine flag, like Chuck does and like Scott does, please get that out there. Well, it's too late, right? It should have been this morning. Jack, can you speak to, in terms of best practice? In fact, what we did with the Crosshill project is a best practice because it's statutorily required by the state. We go out to bid and we have to award contracts to the lowest responsible bidder. I'm sorry, I should have taken that off when I...
Yeah, you're right, Mayor, and it's a very liberal interpretation of responsible.
Well,
And that's not our interpretation, that's
So,
the court's interpretation.
Chuck, I think we feel your pain on this.
Good.
All right, number 3.
Number 3. In August, I presented to all of you on the Township Committee the article that was in the New York Times about acrylic guards and what it meant to the pandemic and how it was not helping but spreading the virus itself. I come here tonight, 3 months later, all the acrylic guards are up. We spent all this money. What decisions have you made on those acrylic guards?
I don't know if I'm capable to respond to that. Nancy, I mean, we put them in based on what CDC guidelines were. Our complaints may be with the CDC and...
Well, I mean, I don't know if it matters. I don't know if it's the same thing. They're plexiglass, they're not acrylic. I don't know.
Well, it's my misterm. It's whatever was used to block the virus weren't working.
Well, I mean, I think that...
You got a copy of the article that I gave you from the New York Times.
I think that we have anecdotal evidence that nobody in Town Hall has gotten COVID during the time that we've worked here.
How do you know that? There's people in this building that have COVID. I don't know where they got it. I don't know how you prove that.
Well, I know that nobody was out sick with it, so...
I don't want to name people, but there are people in this as employees that had COVID.
Anybody in Town Hall who got COVID got it while we were working from home. No employee in this building that I'm aware of had COVID and had to miss work for it because...
And of course, we all recognize that as confidential information.
I want to include all departments in Long Hill Township, and I don't think you can say because of what you've done prevented anybody from getting COVID that was an employee of Long Hill Township.
So I'm not talking about other departments. I'm talking about the departments that have the plexiglass in them, which is this building.
No,
You're only talking about this building.
Right, because that's the acrylic or plexiglass things. The other thing, the other reason for the plexiglass, because it's something that I've wanted to put in since I've come here, is a safety measure, because we have counters where people exchange cash, and a lot of it at tax time, and there was no barrier between the public and employees. So in addition to putting them in for COVID or virus prevention, they're also a safety measure for employees.
And Chuck, if I could just add to that, I mean, that was reported in the New York Times, yeah, but I think there's been no official opinion given about plexiglass that certainly that I'm aware of, or that I think that we've received.
So have you done any research beyond what I sent you? I'll send you more if you want to see it.
I mean, again, if there's anything you have from an official governmental body, I certainly haven't seen any. But that's what we go by, not necessarily the New York Times.
Yeah, and just to remind you some history. Originally, the CDC said no masks. Then they said wear a mask. Then they said wear 2 masks. Then they said 6 feet apart. Then they said 3 feet apart. It's all cast in concrete, okay?
It was a rapidly evolving situation
Yes,
that the world has never
yeah.
actually contemplated or come before. So I just want to add that as context.
Just so you know, I've never worn 2 masks, but I wear 1 mask. And just so you know, I stopped the mail, I stopped my newspaper, I went to the ShopRite, I wiped everything down, and let it sit there, let the mail sit there for 24 hours, and then I started the newspaper, and I started getting my mail, and then I didn't wipe anything down at the ShopRite, and I've been okay. Been okay.
And Nancy, people are still wearing masks in Town Hall, right?
Correct. The Township Committee had reinstituted that in, I want to say, July or August.
Right.
Everybody who comes in the building has to wear a mask. Employees wear masks unless they're sitting at their desk.
1 or 2 masks?
One.
1, okay. Item 4. The prior administrations of this town installed the lighting on Main Avenue, and they also took down a lot of trees. If you recall, at that time, some people went on the top past Central School and said, geez, am I in Sterling or I am at Newark Airport? The lighting was very bright. Residents complained, and we shut some of the lights down towards Long Hill or Valley Road. And then people said, geez, look at our lights. Look at our light posts. Look at what Warren has. Look what Watchung has. And our lights couldn't hold a candle to them. No pun intended. So I'd be very cautious when we're going to spend $140,000 to take the lights that people didn't like, that were too bright, and that couldn't hold a candle to Watchung or Warren, and extend that up towards the school and further. And then we're going to spend maybe $50,000 on a clock. We spent $42,000 on Tombstone Park, okay? Let's be a little cautious on those expenditures. Item 5. We said we had a significant rate increase for our bus driver for the seniors. Could someone share to me what that rate was?
The rate that we had was $21 to $25 an hour. I don't know exactly what we paid the old bus driver, but it fit into that range.
And the new bus driver is making $35 an hour.
Supply and demand.
I guess I should have been a bus driver.
Do you have a CDL?
Not yet, but I can get one. One other comment. We're talking about this bond ordinance for the police department. We're going to go, I guess, go back in debt. I was under the impression that through FEMA and other grants, through issuance of a state of emergency, that we can get some of that funded back from the state, the county, or whatever. Why do we have to go back in debt?
Yeah, Mr. Arenowitz, we're not going in debt. That ordinance merely appropriated the money. It's anticipated that most, if not all, of the money will get reimbursed by FEMA grants and will never go out to bands or bonds. It was the suggestion of bond counsel and the auditor that we do this in order to avoid it being an emergency appropriation, which would have to come out of next year's budget.
Just so you know, the taxpayers don't know what you just said. Because I've seen emails go across the board today, or I shouldn't say today, when the agenda first came out, said, we don't want to go back in debt.
Yeah, we're not.
And they asked me to come before you and present this so you could clarify it for the taxpayer.
Understood. It's confusing.
Where am I, Mayor? Item
Item number
6?
6.
No, that was 6. We're on 7.
We're at 7. 2 meetings ago, or I guess the last meeting, I've been out of town, so my dates may not correspond. We talked about flooding on Madison Avenue. There are major solutions to flooding in this town. One is we start buying out, as we did 10 years ago, properties that flood. We need to look at our zoning and building codes of what we're doing or not doing in floodplains. We need to look at what we're doing at the river. We need to look at our lot coverage ordinances. We need to look at drainage. The engineer tonight's not going to solve the problems on Madison Road, or Avenue, excuse me. So the history of lists at what needs to be done to help mitigate flooding is not going to be resolved by one person. It's a series of persons. And if you look at the resolution your prior committee adopted from the prior governor's study of what happened in Sandy and what needed done, there's 17 points there, 15 to 17. If you look at those, if you continue to do those, it'll stop and help mitigate what's going on here. That's fallen off the board. We had a flood mitigation committee here that you appointed, or the prior administrators appointed, that never met. So think about that. What you need to do to help with flooding. It's not going to be solved by one person. I certainly appreciate your time, and God bless the Marine Corps.
Thank you.
God bless the Marine Corps indeed. And go Notre Dame. Notre Dame playing tonight, Chuck?
No, we're playing at Virginia, 7:30 Saturday night.
Ah, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Committee. Real quick, I left off an item off the liaison report. If you haven't noticed, on Valley Road, there was new radar signs that were installed in front of Gillette School with, we call them radar feedback signs, which are probably the most productive signs. They kind of flash at you, they kind of scare you, they show you your speed. So we're getting good feedback from the public regarding addressing the school zone there on Valley Road. So if that is productive, we would like to see that carry through to Milton School, then eventually Central School. But we'll evaluate that accordingly. That was completed at the end of October. The ones that were there prior were there for, I think General Electric said they were there for over 30 years. So they were long due to be replaced. The other item that I became aware of this afternoon or this evening was the vandalism to public property. So I just want to give you an update. I think you deserve an update as well as the public. October 21st, we received our first report of 3 juveniles that pried the door open. When we looked at the video, the door has a mechanism that will disengage in case of an emergency. So there was no criminal mischief involved. There was no intent involved. That was addressed, and we were advised by the complainant that there was no damage incurred. This afternoon at 3:41 p.m., received a video and a request again that juveniles were back at it, prying the door open. And what they're doing is they're using it as a cut through to get to the ball fields. So that was at 3:41 p.m. At 3:48 p.m., Sergeant Schleier, along with his crew, conducted an investigation, identified all the juveniles, met with the parents, showed the video of the incident to the parents. And again, it's determined that there's no malicious intent or no criminal intent in this other than they're using it as a cut through. The parents that we're spoken with were not happy about what occurred. They were told that they could potentially be liable for restitution if there was damage. But again, my communication with the complainant at the time that it was being evaluated, it could be detrimental to the mechanism that's there. So both cases have been investigated. The juveniles in this most recent incident that I guess occurred on Halloween were identified, parents were spoken with, and we're talking about Central School kids. So I don't know if there's any more to it than that. Like I said, I became aware of that roughly 4 p.m. today. So I just want to give you an update where it's at. They've been identified. They can be addressed if there's any damage, but that's where the situation is. But
Thank you, Chief.
with that, I'll make the request to you, and this is something maybe you can consider later on, is because they're using it as a cut-through and the door to Town Hall and the door to the library is locked, I'd have to come down and evaluate it, but is there any concern over making that area accessible for kids of this town to walk through to get to the parks, being that I think that area is under surveillance? Would you have an issue making that accessible during certain times, during, park hours, or posting signs up there saying that, okay, even though you figured out you can access it, don't, because you could be subject to damage. So I would be in support of either one, but something to assist the situation, because there's more groups that follow that day that utilize the same entrance. So I think more and more people know that they can use that door to access the field. So either we don't restrict it and allow that door to function and let them walk through as a passage, or lock it and post it properly.
That's an interesting recommendation, and I'm glad you added during park hours,
Right.
not
Right.
24/7.
And if you notice in the corner by the town hall door, there is a defib, posted on the wall. It could potentially be an access point if somebody needs a defibrillator, that area is accessible to somebody in that park. So just something to keep in mind. I'm not saying we have to do anything tonight, but the defib is in there, and in the event that somebody needs that the piece of equipment, they would have access if that door was open. So
I'm embarrassed to say, where exactly is the defib?
if you walk in that vestibule or that atrium to the right of the door to Town Hall, there's a box up on the wall with a defibrillator in it.
And is there a sign outside? There's an AED sign.
There's a sign near that. I don't think there's anything outside, but again, that could be part of the parameters, is that we
There should be an AED sign outside the entrance.
Right. Could potentially save somebody's life, so we can take a bad situation that's vandalism and turn it into a positive for the town. So my recommendation, you gentlemen decide how you want to handle it.
And is that door under a time lock?
No, it has to be manual.
Manual, all right.
Thank you,
Thank
Chief. I
you, Chief.
appreciate that. Meeting's still open to the public? Seeing none, again,
There is one gentleman that has his hand raised on
Thank you.
Zoom. So I'm going to allow him to speak. If you could state your name and your address for the record, please.
Hello, this is Tom Keelich on Madison Street. I would like to thank this committee for their continued attention to the flooding issues in the township, both downtown Sterling and obviously on Madison Street where I live. Just wanted to acknowledge the committee's comments earlier regarding the flooding and just continued my support. I've talked to a few of my neighbors, mentioned speaking at the last meeting, and they're obviously very happy to hear that attention is being paid to that. One of our neighbors also mentioned, at the end of our road, there is a little footbridge that leads to Western Boulevard, which continuously gets damaged through all the floodings. I think, it feels, through conversations with my neighbors, it seems like this has been, I don't want to say a long ignored issue, but something that may not have gotten a lot of attention through the years. So just wanted to say thank you for attention today and kind of continued attention in the months to come. So thank you.
Thank you, and I do apologize. I know we've referred to it as Madison Avenue, Madison Road throughout this evening. So we are clear. It is Madison Street. I heard that's what you called it.
That is correct.
I only ever call it Madison. I never use the second part of that. And so it is Madison Street.
It is.
Thank you, and thank you for staying with us. So we had a pretty lengthy meeting. Hopefully you enjoyed the rest of it.
Absolutely, and I try to get down there, but work precludes me from attending in person. So I do appreciate opening up the Zoom to participants to be able to speak.
And by the way, again, welcome to town. You said you moved in earlier this year. Please if you are free on the evening of December 5th, the Myersville tree Christmas lighting is old time America. It's Americana. It's right out of Norman Rockwell. I promise you, you will not be disappointed.
We are excited for all the holiday festivities Township has in store, along with those that may not be as festive, such as these helicopter flybys on the power lines. So we're looking forward to it all.
It's a cornucopia of activity coming up.
Cornucopia, that's a word that doesn't get enough use.
It's old-time America.
Do you know other words that don't get enough use? Yeah, motion to adjourn.
Is that
Second.
official, or is that just, a comment?
It's just a.
Is that a motion?
It's a motion.
Deputy
Second.
Mayor made a motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Happy birthday, Marines.